You've likely heard the old saying that practice makes perfect. This isn't entirely accurate. The reality is that practice doesn't perfect the skill you intend. It makes what you practice a more permanent part of your skill set. Whatever you repeat day in and day out becomes the skill you master. It eventually becomes how you interpret who you are. This isn't a matter of fate or some hidden talent you were born with. It's simply the result of repetition, training what I call your conditioned self. So the question is what you've been practicing what you actually want for yourself? It's not a trick question, but it does take a little thinking to get to the real-world difficulties you are likely causing for yourself. Hey there, it's me, Core, and you are listening to Exercising Self-Control from Fitness to Flourishing. This is where most of us misunderstand our own behavior. We tend to think our habits are a direct reflection of our personality, but habits don't reveal who you were meant to be. They reveal what you've been practicing. In other words, habits reveal what you've made of yourself. If you practice hesitation becomes a permanent part of your character. If you practice procrastination, that becomes your default setting. When you practice saying one thing and doing another, that inconsistency becomes your permanent way of operating. The good news is that the opposite is also true. If you practice clarity becomes a habit. If you practice principled action, you become more skilled at taking principled action. If you practice virtuous self-control, living your highest values while realizing your most important goals, whatever the circumstances, that becomes how you move through the world. This is the heart of Stoic strength training. When you do this consistently, it becomes your natural way of being, your new autopilot. Let's look at a concrete example. Your exercise practice. Every time you show up and complete your scheduled workout, you aren't just conditioning your body. You're training your mind. You are practicing the act of choosing your values over your impulses. You are learning to act based on your intentions rather than how you happen to feel in the moment. And every time you skip a workout, not because you were injured, but because you didn't feel like it, you're practicing something else. You're practicing the belief that your emotions decide your actions. You're practicing the idea that circumstances determine your behavior. You're essentially practicing inconsistency. And whatever you practice becomes permanent. Exercise is a powerful training ground for personal development because it is immediate and physical. It reveals your true relationship with choice. You can't think your way into discipline or a fit body. As one of the aphorisms of Stoic strength puts it, knowing does not come from thinking. Act, then you'll know. You have to move to implement and fully grasp the lesson. Think about any area of your life where you feel stuck right now. Maybe it's a project you're avoiding or a skill you've been meaning to learn. Ask yourself, what have I been practicing here? Have you been practicing avoidance, procrastination, or indecision? Have you been practicing waiting for better circumstances or the perfect timing? You could instead be practicing the behavior your preferred self would choose. Because this is the key. Self-identity is choice identity. In other words, you become the person whose choices you repeat. By defining your preferred self, you set a standard for the choices you aspire to make, whatever the circumstances. Practice making those choices consistently enough, and that is who you'll become. If you want to change your identity, you must change what you practice. Not once, not occasionally, or sporadically when the mood strikes, but consistently, until the new behavior becomes automatized. That is, until it becomes your new conditioned self. Here's your practical takeaway for today. 1. Identify a behavior you want to make permanent. 2. Choose a small, doable action you can take today that's consistent with that behavior. And 3. Do it. If you can't do it immediately, schedule it. Set a time for completion before the day's end. Don't wait for tomorrow or for the moment you feel ready. Today. Every repetition of a behavior is training, and everything you practice becomes permanent. Ensure you practice making the choices that help you become the person you want to be. That's it for today. Catch you next time.